Good evening to you. It is Thursday, March 13th at 11:51 p.m., almost March 14th. Purdue has just defeated USC 76-71. Not just. It's been a little while. It's been a few minutes. I decided to enjoy some of the post-game. Some good stuff on Big Ten Network, of course, because Big Ten tournament time's a little different. They keep the cameras running. In fact, Paint has not wrapped it up yet, and I just decided to go because I waited a little bit. I got a lot of thoughts. Something interesting happened after the game that wasn't on TV either, and I don't think the Big Ten Network will air this. USC's almost the entire team stepped to an old man, an old Purdue fan, tried to fight him. That's interesting. It's on our Twitter feed if you want to check it out. Big, bad, tough guys went after a guy that looks like the old man from Jurassic Park. I'll talk about everything here in a second, but first let me thank the people that made my shirt. Head over to homefieldapparel.com. Enter Boiled25 at checkout. Get 15% off your first order. They got some really, really cool stuff. Check out, the new shooting shirt that they brought out that commemorates the 1980 Final Four team with Joe Barry Carroll and company. Really, really slick. It's pretty badass. Also, when you're at Mackey Arena and you've just watched Purdue's guards struggle and TKR absolutely feast, maybe you should go have a little feast yourself. Head towards the fire station. When you get there, turn hard left. It's more than a 90-degree left, and you'll see the blue lights of AJ's. Go into AJ's. Tell everyone you've come because Boiler Dowd has sent you. And they'll treat you like a king. But guess what? Even if you don't tell them Boiler Dowd sent you, you'll still get treated like a king because they have great service, delicious food. And right now they've got cheese curds. Holy moly. And I'm going to be there on Sunday talking about my thoughts about Purdue's draw in the NCAA tournament. You can join me there if you'd like. Hope to see you there. EatAJ's.com, burgers, beef, beer. That's AJ's. AJ's by the fire station. So, interesting game. If you look at this one, I mean, obviously different than the game at Mackey Arena where Purdue used a home cooking to really propel them into something special. Tonight, very interesting. The Purdue struggles containing the dribble tonight were just so palpable and such a problem. Purdue's guards were struggling on defense and struggling on offense too because USC's got some athletes. They got dudes out there. And at the same time, TKR was absolutely going ham, right? Use an old term. He could score anytime he got the ball. In fact, he got some weird ones where he got the ball out at 23 feet, 22 feet, decided to drive on the man on him. Part of it because he recognized the fact there was some foul trouble happening, and he had a smaller guy on him. I think it was AG at that point. But he played absolutely like a man with his hair on fire. It started from the jump. Unlike the last game, unlike the, I can't even remember. It was days ago. Unlike the last game where he started off poorly and he was missing shots he usually makes, he set the tone early and just kept with that. On top of that, at the same time, Braden Smith, again, his legs look a little dead to me, missing stuff on the front of the rim. Like I said, there's one indicator that I always look for in the first half. If Smith goes for that fadeaway on the right baseline and it's front rim, I'm like, could be a tough day. Smith did what he does where he fills, 3 columns in the stat sheet, but also missed some shots that I think you really wanted to see him hitting. Purdue had multiple possessions where Purdue rebounded the ball pretty well because of the height discrepancy, I think. But they really they did not shoot the ball well in the second half, especially. First half, 50% from 3. And in spite of having such a high clip that they're hitting the threes, still only tied at the first half. And why that happened? Well, because they turned the ball over. I said, just sloppy basketball in the first half. Ugly basketball. In fact, so ugly at one point, it felt as if the game was teetering. At about the 7.5, 8-minute mark, USC had pushed the lead out. And it wasn't a huge lead, but Purdue just couldn't score. They got into that mode like they did versus IU, where everything was stagnant and everybody's standing around watching everybody else. I don't understand why it happens. I know TKR was in foul trouble at that point, and they were trying to manufacture offense. But without TKR, Purdue was mightily in trouble versus USC. And just the same thing that I've said for much of the season, when Purdue plays, guards that can create, they're in trouble. This isn't exactly the formula because these guys, I don't think USC is as old as my normal formula, but they got guys that can score, and they've got guys that they're single-minded when they get the ball in the hands. Claude was in foul trouble. That's good because he was killing Purdue in the second half after they decided they kind of unleashed him. He had 4 fouls and he didn't foul out. Again, something we've seen over and over, something I wish Purdue understood how to attack that. I mean, like, it kills me over and over when you got that Purdue had USC had 2 guys with 4 fouls, and I don't think they fouled either of them out. Maybe they fouled one of them out, but they didn't foul Claude out, and it would have made a big difference. Very unusual game because of the fact that you had kind of the tale of 2 worlds happening, and you had these major runs that just happened both first and second half for USC, and Purdue had to scratch and claw and work their way back into it. It's a good win because it's a win in March and it's a win during a conference tournament. I don't care about this conference tournament. That said, Purdue needs, like we talked, I think we all agreed, get 2 wins and you feel pretty good about this conference tournament regardless of what happens. But I actually think the Michigan matchup is a much better matchup than USC. I thought USC would struggle a lot today because of dead legs. I really thought Purdue would be able to exploit it. Instead, USC exploited Purdue's weaknesses, and that comes down to Musselman. Eric Musselman's a very, very good coach, but he's also a red ass. And at the end of the game, you saw he was so mad. There were some I know there's some, I think I'm probably going to have somebody in the comments who's going to try to lecture me on officiating. I don't care. Big Ten officiating, NCAA officiating is atrocious tonight. And I guess if you just come to lower the bar to just say, yeah, it's always atrocious, fine. But it was all on display here tonight. There were some really bad, really missed calls. Started early, it ended late, and I think USC got the worst end of that at the end of the game. I think that push-off on, was it AG or Agbo? I can't remember, on USC. I thought that was a bad call. It was on AG because Agbo had 4. The reason I think it's a bad call is the situation. He did not, people say wrapped him up. He didn't wrap him up. It was a foul. It was, if anything, a touch foul. And if you look at the whole play, if you want to be real fair about it, Trey pushes off first, and then the USC player tries to stay with him because he can't. That's the problem. He's a smaller guy. Something that, it's unusual for Trey to deal with in the Big Ten, right? But USC's big man, when they tried to keep a legit big man on him, he couldn't handle Trey. And then they just, in the second half, they decide to go small ball, try to create difficult matchups on the other side of the court, and it almost got them over the hump. Purdue took their first lead of the second half, if I'm remembering correctly. Maybe it was their second lead of the second half. It was just minutes left. Before that, USC had them. Every time Purdue would score, USC would come back and answer. And usually they'd answer in a way that it felt like, man, they are just fighting, scratching, clawing, and they've kind of figured out how to beat Purdue. It's a bad matchup for Purdue, no doubt about it. But it's a hard one because I think Purdue fans, it's just fans, not players. But you got to say, man, it's tough to count on this team right now. It's tough to say, what's the thing that they can go to other than TKR when they have this issue? Thank God they got TKR. He was very humble in the post game. If you watched it, kind of neat, pulling some Zach Edey type stuff where he was trying to push away some of the praise onto the younger guys. Really, really important. Speaking of those younger guys, I didn't give them enough praise. Specifically, Heidi and Colvin. And I would say if Heidi and Colvin would have played the majority of this season this way, okay? Heidi had some frustrating moments. My buddy Handel Jones said I'm not going to tell you the whole thing he said, but he was frustrated with Heidi. And I get it. But at the same time, Heidi made big shots when Purdue needed them most. When that game was teetering in the first half, Heidi made the shots to stop the bleeding, right? And when Purdue needed to play in the second half, it was absolutely Heidi's rebounding. He nearly got a triple or a double-double tonight. And the only reason I know that stat is because it was on the underneath him when he was in he got the big seat in the post game. But Heidi and Colvin, if they play like that most of the season, I think most Purdue fans would be like, all right, we're going to be good. It's going to be okay by the end of the season, because you'd say, okay, there would have been progression. But that's been the tough thing about Purdue basketball this year, is those two guys haven't matured the way I think many Purdue fans thought they would. Interesting moment tonight, because TKR had 2 fouls early. Berg came into the game and had a big shot block. That was awesome to see. And Purdue, one of the worst shot blocking teams in America, had 2 shots blocked, one Heidi and one Berg. Pretty exciting stuff to see that. But at the same time, again, the on-ball defense was just atrocious at times. And it was Musselman and USC really taking advantage of what Purdue is. Not anything else, but he saw it and they exploited, almost got done. Musselman was absolutely wrong on the way he handled his complaining. And I think that's part of the reason those players were in such a lather after the game, and why they went after the old man, because they were still so pissed off, because he had probably just worked them up by complaining nonstop. He's a great coach. Doesn't need to do that, but I think take good with the bad. If I was coaching, I would probably be very much like him. My philosophy would be similar. I'd be unlikable to opponents because I'd be wound up all the time. I would go after officials just like he does. He probably earned a tech towards the end of the game. Didn't get it. Probably better the officials could hold their whistle there, just because it would have just completely sent the game over. But again, I'm sure I'm going to have Purdue fans angry at me for saying that, but I don't care. All right, so let's look at the stats real quick before I come over and talk to you guys. Like I said, Purdue wins 76-71. It's Purdue's 22nd win of the year, but we're in the postseason now. It's all new, all matters. USC, their season is over. I don't think they'll get invited to anything, but I don't know how many stupid tournaments there are below the whatever that Vegas tourney is called. Trey Kaufman-Renn leads all scorers for both sides, 30 points, 7 boards, 2 assists, hell of a game, shot 6-11 for the field, and just was resolute and made things happen. No other way to say it. Fletch Lawyer, solid game, 14 points, was 3 for 7 from deep. I think he missed a couple that I think he thought would go down, but he had a pretty crafty shot in traffic where he got bumped pretty good. Made a great. I love it when he plays the old man game, but really, really important bucket. And Purdue had, I mean, every bucket down the stretch was important because the game was so tight. But that was a big one. Let's see. Braden Smith struggled from the field, no doubt about. 1 for 4 from deep, 3 for 10 from the floor. Finishes with 12 points, just 3 boards, 9 assists, couple steals. The funny thing is, so in the first half, I believe Purdue had 8 turnovers in the first half. I believe that's true. They finished with just 10. Incredible second half, keeping it together because of USC really figuring a lot of Purdue out. And like I said, they were coached well and prepared well. I appreciate USC's the fight to the team, but like I said, they should turn that fight off when they're off the court and not go after guys that are 70 years old. Off the bench, Purdue, an odd thing here. You have both Heidi and Colvin finish with significant points, 9 points and 8 points. Heidi finishes with 9 points, 11 boards, a block, and held on. He had 3 personal fouls and then didn't get another cheap one down the stretch in spite of playing good hard defense. Miles Colvin, mixed bag a little bit on defense. He had to guard Claude, which is an extremely tough assignment. Claude is a great kind of throwback type player because he looks for the mid-range every time. But he can stop and go. He's great with speed, and Colvin struggled. His last shot, in fact, Claude's last shot, that should have would it have tied the game? Might have tied the game. I'm not sure. But Claude's last shot was missed. He blew past Heidi on that one. But Heidi Colvin. Colvin played good defense most of the game though. Finished with 8 points, 5 important boards, had a couple turnovers, but the effort was there. And that's what I'm saying about both Heidi and Colvin. Great to see that effort off the bench. One thing I do not understand it, and maybe I can get a refresh here and get the minutes here. I got him now. So Jakari Harris only played 10 minutes. And part of the reason he got up to 10 was because Fletch got into foul trouble in the first half. With like 3-4 minutes left, I think, in the first half. He got his second, and they waited a while to get him in there. I don't get it. Harris looks to me, every time he comes in, especially early in the game, to inject energy right away. When he and Cox are in the game at the same time, I love seeing both those guys play at the same time, and I don't understand some of the substitutions. I'm probably not alone, but let's see how many minutes. Braden Smith, 40 minutes. He's absolutely a warrior, but man, he looked tired to me off the bus. And Purdue plays Michigan tomorrow at 9. So hopefully I have his legs. Lots of comments here. Lots of you guys are here. Appreciate all you. Yo says peace down. Thanks for being here. Joe Inslee, survive and advance. Exactly. I'll feel a lot better in a week if they survive and advance. And get into the second weekend, like I said, that's a pretty damn successful season in my mind, and it looks really, really difficult. It's going to all be based on matchups. Purdue plays the wrong team with guys that are really looking to score, the guards that are really looking to score. It's going to be tough for them to stay in front of those type of guys who are good off the dribble. Ron Gable, how are you, sir? Says Hugh, close one. No kidding. Shane Hinkle, survive, advance, boiler up, blood pressure down. So here's my thing, and a little confession of my weakness. The thing that kills me about this team more than anything, and I said it to Handle on a text thread, was this team makes me curse, especially when they seem to be given an opportunity, or they create an opportunity. Let's say they get up by a bucket or two, or they get up by one when they've been fighting and scratching and clawing, and they stop the team on the other end, and then they can't come away with a 50-50 ball. That type of thing, it must make Painter nuts. It makes me crazy. Like, if it sends me through the roof. So I wish I could watch my temper, and I've been pretty good this season about keeping myself in check, but now it's March. I guess I'm next level too. So Dan G says, what a game. How about some defense? Right on. Chris R, boiler up. This is the type of win we all wanted to see at the end of the Illinois game. Yep. That fight, the collapse was noteworthy. Tough play, way to grit it out. Right on. Yo, great win. Frail Hammers, the bench just in time. Exactly. And if we can see bench production like that, Purdue can be pretty dangerous. But at the same time, those lapses on defense, if you do that against a good team, a second round type team specifically, you get blown out and they leave you in the dust, right? And it's going to be really hard to come back. Kind of like what we saw versus, was it Auburn? I think Auburn got a lead and then just buried Purdue, right? Just put them in the ground. So you don't want to get behind. I mean, Auburn's exceptional, but Penn State's another team that was up and just poured it on. Brock Stepler says, let's go. Not how I wanted it to go. Big time win just because they could have fooled it. Agreed. And they've shown they could have fooled it. It should be fresh in our mind. Ron Bach says Cam Heidi sighting, a hell of a sighting, and little more than that, right? Nate Dolan says, good evening. Great 24 hours. IU loses. Purdue wins. Canceled my Peacock subscription. Just saw the video of the old guy getting fronted. Yeah, it was weird. It's really weird. And the looked like an assistant coach from USC tried to keep everything cool. Good on him. Tough thing. I don't know what was said. I'm sure it was out of line by the old man. It doesn't matter. 5 college dudes playing basketball. And it's hard to turn the switch off, like I said, when you fight like that. And they're being programmed, meaning, like it's important. The effort matters. You can tell that team goes hard, right? But you got to turn it off when you get off the court, especially when there are people around. So Boiler Beagle says, does Purdue specifically TKR struggle with rebounding, partly because of foul trouble? Afraid to pick up another foul. It's a good question because almost all season TKR is struggling cleaning the glass. And this game should have been one where you'd think he'd feast, right? Let's look at that. I didn't look at all the stats very well. I didn't look at him. I did say Cam Heidi led all rebounders 11. TKR had 7. Purdue out rebounds USC. Let's see, total rebounds by 3. Shockingly, the defensive rebounds, Purdue had more than USC. Didn't feel that way, especially in the second half. Purdue shot the free throw poorly, and most of that was Trey Gubman Wren as good of a game as he played, missed 5 free throws, 6 of 11 from the free throw line. So 3-point, Purdue finishes just under 40, which is okay, but they were 50% at the half, so they fell off a little bit in the second half. That's, it's a good game because they had to fight. I would say that's, and I think a lot of you guys are saying that, so I agree. Nick Castellano says, voice sounds implied. My concern, if we get a bad matchup next week, I cringe. I'm with you completely, Nick. We can't grab a damn rebound. You and I are together. I know the stat line says otherwise, but we have so many tip arounds. It's a huge issue. Yeah, you and I are, and I think you said that before I started talking about it. I'm right with you. So, okay, there you go. It says, voice sounds improved. Yes, it is. Feeling better. I think yesterday, I think it's something. See, I don't know if you guys know this. I don't know if I've ever said this. I'm allergic to absolutely everything. And so I rolled right into that stupid voice into allergy season because the pollen count's up now. And that starts affecting my voice in a different way. So that's a lot of fun. But at least I can stay audible with that. So, yeah, thank you guys. Kevin Albuquerque says, advance, repeat. Just need to keep going. Bend over says, guards. Good to see the good guys work through a lineup that is capable of causing trouble for a lot of teams. Just win, baby. It's amazing to me when I watch USC, and I know they're unusual. I say Purdue's incompletely built. They're built even weirder, right? They're kind of built like an Ohio State team from a couple years ago, where you have just interchangeable parts, right? And then one big man, but their big man really comes off the bench. It's an unusual team, and they kind of pay for that, especially in the bruising Big Ten, no doubt about it. Sport King says, good job, Cam. Will Hardy, USC was doing well with the ball screens up top, getting Colvin off of him, getting TKR on him, and just made me want to go under a few and make him shoot the three. Yeah, I think, let's see, you got a little more point with that slow release. Yeah, he's got a real slow release, and I think he knows it too, and he wants to create space with that stop and go. No doubt about it. The screens to me, they weren't the best set screens. Would anyone disagree? I know they're smart with their placement, but it wasn't like the best set screens. Purdue struggled all day long, though, with guys coming at him on a fast dribble. It didn't matter who it was, right? Who was coming up the court, and they had a couple breakdowns that were just egregious. Sport King says, good job, Cam. Will Hardy, USC was doing well. Oh, I just said that. Matt Keller jumped around. The energy wasn't there tonight. Surely wasn't there in the first half. Hopefully it shows up tomorrow. But how about Heidi and Colvin? Right on. The energy was horrible. Like I said this on Twitter. There were so many things happening where I'm like, man, this team looks just like that IU team in the second half. The team that got whipped by IU in the second half. So glad they stopped the tailspin. Sally Engelmeyer says, is Colvin our lockdown defender? Was on the hot shooter in the second half. I think he's intended to be the lockdown defender. He's no Ray Davis, though, if we're being real honest, right? Maybe next year he will be. He's a good athlete. He's laterally quick. He's long, right? A lot like Ray Davis as well. But I wouldn't call him lockdown just yet. I think he's Purdue's best on-ball defender. I don't think, and it might not be close. So, yeah, you're right. Jarvizda says, that sounds like one of those drugs, says, played with fire, didn't get burned. Right on. Track Dog Crow's Nest says, good win for the Boilers, struggled early but fought through it. Won a close game. Love to see Heidi step up. Big Ten officiating has always been inconsistent. Just saying, good job. Yeah. Good points. Ryan McClure, man, I can't see them going very far with Smith playing the whole game, every game. Well, we can say we can't see it happening. I think it's going to happen. If you look at the trends, it's 40 minutes tonight. This is what they did last year in the tournament too. The funny thing is, I swear, and I don't know if there's anything you can do when you're that depleted or that tired, other than go back in a time machine and say, okay, instead of giving 36 and a half minutes every game, let's back it down to 34, 35. And I think the damage is done. I don't think he's hurt, but I think he is tired. And tomorrow against Michigan will be a different type of game. I think he can show out a little bit. Michigan struggled against Smith last game, but the big question is, will they keep Wolf in check? Keep Wolf in check, you're fine. I, I think it's a problem for Michigan to have to rely on Golden. I think I've said it. I think I've said it on the air. If I haven't, I apologize, but I have said it. I know I've said it. So see if I'm right. Michigan has been struggling of late, so we'll see. Dan Clement says 9 turnovers the first half. Thank you. Not 8. I think just 1 in the second. That makes that even more impressive. I'm going to jump down a little bit because a couple of you guys repeated, but Joe Ainsley said shot clock gets set to 20 seconds on a turnover in the backcourt. That was such a weird play. And I had never heard that rule, so that's on me. But I wasn't the only one. A lot of pretty smart basketball people were confused at that. The broadcasting team knew, but I think it's because they have producers in their ear helping them out with that. That was a weird rule. I've never seen that before. So, that's a weird rule. Let's script that. Judith Johnson says 4 ibuprofen game. So what when you're taking 4 ibuprofen and is that what's hurting? What's hurting, Judith? Because if we start relying too much on ibuprofen, what's it hurt is it kidneys, liver? What is it? Kidneys, right? So hope you're doing that on a full stomach, right? Have a little bit to eat before the ibuprofen. Brother Ted says, how important is the Big Ten tournament to you? To me, it's not important. It's not important. I think it's important to Purdue. I think they want to win it. I think that's good because I think they should have played better this season and should have been in contention to win it. Michigan State earned it, took it from everybody. But Purdue kind of gave their seat at the table. If you're saying Michigan State was hosting, in that they gave it away in that 4-game losing streak. Jack Leonard 22. Jay is here, and he says, rumors of Fran being done at Iowa. What will you miss most about Iowa's all-time winningest coach? Probably how good he is in the tournament, Jay. I don't know if you know this, but is that right? He's never gotten into the second weekend of the tournament? Is that what people are saying? And it's pretty amazing because Iowa's had some pretty good teams under Fran. They haven't been recent. If Fran's really done, I told Jay, the group of us were discussing what should Iowa do. If I were an Iowa fan, I'd be like, time to cut bait. Because they were lousy last year or marginal at best last year. The same exact problems this year. No adjustments. No defense ever. I mean, it's an interesting idea to play this novel brand of basketball where you try to get a shot off every 4 seconds. But it's not effective. It's not effective. And I think Iowa fans have a reason to be pissed. Jay Daddy says, was not the best coach game by Painter. I completely agree. His answer was just TKR. And this is where, so people, the more educated among us would have to explain it to me. PJ Thompson is the offensive coordinator. I will say that at times this year, the offense seemed to me to not try to do anything to exploit teams. Just kind of said, okay, it's TKR and we're going to run some action to draw guys away, some false action, right? Where it looks like you're trying to do something with somebody and they're not really a threat to shoot. And a lot of good teams have figured it out. We don't have to guard that, right? And then Purdue falls apart a little bit. So, I would say that Purdue gets very one-dimensional at times. And it's disconcerting because we know how it ends. We've seen how it ends. When TKR gets in trouble, TKR is off the court. Smith is dead-legged. That's why this Heidi and Colvin game was so important. There's no doubt. Judith Johnson has an incomplete thought. Matt likes to win this. Likes to win the Big Ten tournament. I agree. I think that's what you're referencing. I think Paint really values the Big Ten tournament. I agree. And I think getting to the championship would be worthwhile. Winning it would be fun. But I don't care about the Big Ten tournament. Boilers 0-1-2. I think he had a comment earlier that he erased. Don't tell Raphael Davis you think Fran should be let go. He thinks coaches should never be fired for any reason. I think it's funny. I can't see Ray Davis really thinking that. Like you're just hanging around and saying that. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's got a soft spot for coaches, but it's kind of a media thing, right? There are a couple of things you see some media guys adopt. One of them is the refs are almost never wrong. The other one is this guy's the greatest coach ever, right? Everybody's the greatest coach ever. And Fran's not the greatest coach ever. Brother Ted says Painter isn't a big portal guy, but Lance Jones was great. Will Painter be looking for legit tested 7-foot big man next season? He's got a 7-footer that's really good. So if I were going to say, well, I've said this, he's going to go to the portal a little bit. I think 2 to 3 guys will come out of the portal because of the expansion of rosters. I think Painter will look to do what he's done consistently, which is find either a grad student or a senior who has, I guess that'd be the same thing. A senior that's redshirted, some sort. I think he's going to go for a big. If I were he, that's what I'd do. But I'd go for a enforcer type tough guy who isn't a guaranteed rebound when he gets in there. Like he does not let anybody deny him the ball. If he has the ability to block shots, I think that'd be a bonus because maybe he comes in with an unusual small lineup. Maybe he's a compliment to Jacobson to just be an enforcer if somebody's going to drive. But I definitely think going after a tough guy would be good. Purdue needs to espouse some of that tough guy mentality. There's a guy specifically, oh man, he's up north. Can't remember where he is. And I think he's got a year of eligibility left after this one. And he's an absolute beast on the boards. He has a funny mustache, which is big points for me that I'd like Purdue to look at, but I don't know if they will. But I think they're going to have to hit the portal. And I think Painter will try to stay true to what he's done, which means I'm going to try to develop guys first. They're going to be the first priority. And if one of these guys comes in and happens to be such a good fit to the program and such a good fit for exactly what we need, he'll be on the floor, right? We've seen it happen. He's put guys on the floor who have transferred in. It's just not his first leaning. And the other thing I would say to all the people who are portal lovers out there, for every time someone brings up the portal and like it's the end all be all, you're not doing that. But when people do that, I just say, look at all the teams that struggled this year that leaned heavily into the portal. There are more than the ones that have succeeded. Granted, some are great examples of how to absolutely work the portal. Auburn has worked the portal amazingly. And they're up at the top of the country, right? Did they get lucky getting that many guys, or did they just have bags to go get them? I don't know. IU went and got some really experienced guys. It did not go well. Season did not go well. By the way, are they on the bubble or are they out? What do you think right now? After that loss to Oregon, I say they're out. But I'm biased. Matt Keller says, do you think TKR could be drafted this year? I don't know. Full disclosure, I'm not an NBA guy. Again, TKR and Smith will definitely go to work out with teams. I think they still allow them to do that. I don't know any of the rules either, but I think they'll do that and they can find out what they need to work on. I would guess that a lot of the guys who are doing their homework on TKR would say, you've got to be able to clean the glass better, right? And I think it's a problem for TKR. So what I think will happen, what I hope happens, they go talk to the NBA teams. They tell them what to work on. Both of them come back absolutely with their ears pinned back and ready to just kick ass. And Purdue returns the core 3, and then we see a Purdue team with Jacobson in the middle and with Colvin and Heidi playing like this more regularly. It's a pretty good scenario right there. Ryan McClure says maybe next year Smith learns to split the double team defenders the way Carson used to. Yeah, and I think something weird happened today, and he was not relying at all on the drive, it seems, especially down the stretch. Pardon me, that's wrong. He wasn't relying early in the second half on the drive. I don't know if he was worried he was going to get his cookie stolen or what, but I think one of my favorite things that he does is run the baseline and try to turn teams into a tizzy. The problem he probably knew because he tests guys out and he knows USC's got dudes that are quick, so that could be the reason. So, Nemanja Chalison's here. Chances of First having a run of career games coming up. I don't know. Depends on his mental focus. I would say that I wouldn't put a whole bunch of money on that. I hope First can get one really special game in the NCAA tournament. I think if he has one special game in the tournament, I think Purdue gets an extra round out of that effort. And for me, to make a long run, it would shock me a lot more than the Boogie team for this team to make a long run. So Don't know if you guys are different. Zach Britt hasn't had a comment today, so says, love how Cam shot the ball and rebounded for us today. Great reminder not to write these dudes off. Yeah, I think a lot of Purdue fans, a lot of fans, it's not just Purdue fans. We're just, we're a big bunch. So, but you hear it on Twitter. You hear it sometimes in the comments here. People write people off. I don't understand it. That's a sophomore. Colvin's a sophomore. So, there's a lot of good basketball left in these guys, and it all comes down to what do they work on, and how do the coaches use them. But there's a big high ceiling over those guys. So fun show, good show. Tough game, tough game for me as a fan, honestly. So so a win is a win, especially during turning time, but a little frustrating win for me. So. Yeah, Sport Kings has a pretty good suggestion. We need Dennis Rodman. Yeah, that's it. But that's what you need, the mentality of Biggie, right? You're not going to get a blue chip, but you need that mentality. Biggie was and just like Rodman was, he studied the way the ball came off the rim, right? The angles, what was happening with the spin of the ball, that sort of thing. You need a guy that's like that when it comes to rebounding. And I think it would be extremely important to Purdue. And you need a guy who's got a healthy chip on his shoulder, but still buys into the team and wants to win because he hasn't had a chance to do so in his career. So that's what I'd look for. So bring on Michigan, like Joe Inslee says, tomorrow night, right around 9 p.m., probably a little bit later. I'll be here with post-game. Great talking to everybody. God bless you. Hammer down. Purdue is moving on Big Ten tournament. See ya.